It is now. Okay, so the recording started a little late. So be it. All right, that's why those little symbols were still there. All right, we're gonna combine like terms. Let's look at a couple of examples here. Let's suppose I have 5x plus 7x. What does it mean to be a like term? The same variable. Right, the same variable. So if these two terms have the same variable, then I can add or subtract their coefficients, the numbers, and I will get 12x. And that's considered the simplified form of that expression. So sometimes to simplify, I use the distributive property, up here in example 1. Sometimes to simplify, I simply combine like terms. Let's do one more of the combining like terms, and then we're going to put the two steps together. Suppose I have 6x minus 7y plus 3x plus 4y plus 9. Do I have any like terms that I can combine there? Right. The 6x and the 3x are like terms. They're both positive. Add them up for 9x. The negative 7y and the positive 4y are like terms. I can add those. One's negative, one's positive. What do I do when their signs are different? You subtract and keep the sign of the one with the greater. So that will be negative 3y. And then how about this poor little plus 9, which I didn't even write its sign down when I wrote it. Okay, I just keep it for plus 9. I have simplified all I can because those are now no longer like terms. Is that okay? All right, now using both steps. Let's suppose I have, and I want to simplify, 3x plus 5 parentheses 7x minus 4 close parentheses plus 2. Anytime you're asked to simplify an algebraic expression, number one is you look for parentheses to see if you can use the distributive property. Does that apply? Yes. I'm going to use the distributive property, copy down the 3x. 5 times 7x is 35x. 5 times negative 4, negative 20, or minus 20, plus a 2 at the end. Step 2 of simplifying is scan across and see if you see any terms that are alike. Yes, I see a 3x and a 35x, which together make 38x. I also see a minus 20 and a plus 2, which gives me how much? Negative 18, because I subtract and keep the sign of the greater or the dominant. Whoops. You've simplified an expression when you have removed all parentheses using the distributive property and combined all terms that are alike. Is everybody okay with simplifying? Okay, now let's go ahead and go to the math lab problems. And I'm going to see if this works for us. I'm going to make this just a tiny bit larger. Okay. If you choose to go into Math Lab to the button that says Class Notes to Print, then this is what you'll get a copy of. Okay, and so I'll have these up here to use And I think it might make your note-taking a little bit easier if you have it as well. Now, y'all tell me, though, from the back, can y'all see those things? You can't see it very well. I don't know if I can make it just one step bigger. And if I do, can I write? Whoops, wrong way. Maybe. Is that better? Should you just be sitting up closer, maybe? Because honestly, I'm going to write. I'm going to make that down, stretch it down one more. And I will write. My writing will be larger than that. But, yeah, come on up. All right. I'm going to simplify expressions. All right. Every single problem, what I'm looking for is, can I use the distributive property? Can I combine like terms? So I have 9W minus 4W plus 8W. And so my writing is going to be a little bit bolder than what is on there. Okay? Any distributive property in problem number 1? No, because there's no parentheses. Do I have any like terms in number 1? Yes. All right, I have 9 minus 4 gives me 5W, and 5W plus 8W is 13W. Remember that the answer you get when you combine like terms will be like the ones you started with. There will never be a change in the exponent. If these were all W's, then the sum or difference of the terms will also be in W's. Okay? This is problem number 1. Problem number, well, you can't see that either. Okay, I'm on problem number 2. Can I use the distributive property here? I have 3b minus 4 minus 9b minus 8. Can I combine like terms? Yes. I have 3b minus 9b. Make sure that you let the sign in front of the term belong to the sign. So what do you get when you combine those two? Negative 6b. Then I have a negative 4 and a negative 8, which gives you negative 12. The rules for the signs are, if the signs of the terms are different, you subtract and keep the sign of the large one. If the signs on the terms are the same, you add them up and keep the sign. Now those are no longer like terms, so there's nothing I can do. Okay?
So it's keep the sign of the larger number?
Yes, when they are different. Subtract and keep the sign of the larger. Okay, number 3. It says to simplify, I don't need to use the distributive property. I have 6x minus 3x plus 2x minus a constant 5 plus 5x. Do I have any distributive property to use? No. Are there any like terms that I can combine? Yes, I have quite a few. I have 6x minus 3x is 3x, plus 2 gives me 5x, plus another 5x is 10x, and then I have a constant 5 which doesn't have any friends to link up with. Those are not like terms, so I'm done. Is that okay? All right. Number 4 in this group says to simplify the expression, and I have 2r squared minus 8r squared minus 9r squared. No distributive property, but do I have like terms? Yes, because they are all r squared. So I have 2 minus 8 gives me negative 6 r squared. Negative 6 and negative 9 gives me negative 15, and they are still r squareds. Is that okay? So we did several examples of just combining like terms. In your math lab exercises, when you get to number 5, things begin to change a little bit. It says simplify the expression. First, use the distributive property to remove any parentheses. So this expression is 7 parentheses x plus 1. To simplify it, I'm going to use the distributive property, multiplying, and I have to think about my multiplication rules. 7 times x gives me 7x, and 7 times 1 gives me 7. Are those like terms? No. One of them is an x term, one of them is a constant term, so I can't combine them any further. Problem number 6 does not ever mention distributive property, it just says multiply. Multiply negative 4 times 8s plus 6. I'm going to use my distributive property. Negative 4 times 8s gives me what? Yes, negative 32s. And now that I'm dealing with a negative, I'm going to remind you of the rules for multiplication. When you multiply two terms, if their signs are different, you always get a negative. But if the signs are alike, you always get a positive. Okay, so negative times positive 8s gave me negative 32s. What's a negative 4 times a positive 6? Negative 24. Can I combine any like terms in that expression? No. Done. All right, problem number 8. Although the instructions are cut off the projection screen, it says simplify the expression. First, use the distributive property to remove parentheses. On an exam, I would not have that second sentence. I would simply say simplify. And you would know the 2 steps. Step number 1, distributive property. Step number 2, combine like terms. Okay, so I have 6 parentheses d minus 3 plus a 2. Use the distributive property first. 6 times d gives me 6d. 6 times negative 3 gives me negative 18. Do I distribute the 6 to the 2 that's out here? No. So I just put plus 2. Can I simplify any further? Do I have any like terms? Yes. I have constant negative 18 and constant 2. I'll keep the 6d. What is negative 18 plus positive 2? It is negative 16. And there's my answer. So if you're asked to simplify an expression, the order that you do the steps is important. Number 1 is distributive property, and number 2 is combine like terms. As we go on, number 8 asks me to use it to simplify. So I have negative 7 parentheses 3x minus 4y plus 5. Close parentheses. Can I use the distributive property? Yes, I need to. This time I'm going to distribute the negative 7 to 3 terms. Negative 7 times 3x is negative 21x. What's negative 7 times negative 4y? Plus 28y. And what's negative 7 times positive 5? Minus 35. Are any of those terms like terms that I could combine together?
No.
No. So I'm done. All right, this next one is problem number 9. It says simplify, and all it has in front of the parentheses is a negative sign. So it's negative parentheses 2x plus 9y minus 6. The parentheses make me immediately think distributive property. So I look in front of the parentheses for what I need to distribute, and I don't see a number written there. When you don't see a number, there really is a 1. And we remember, I hope, from yesterday that 1 is the identity, which means it doesn't change values, except in this case, the 1 is a negative 1. which is going to change some signs. Negative 1 times 2x gives me negative 2x. Negative 1 times positive 9y gives me negative 9y. And what's negative 1 times negative 6? Positive 6. Sometimes people think of a negative in front of parentheses as meaning write down the opposite of everything that comes afterwards. Instead of positive 2x, we got negative 2x. Instead of positive 9y, we got negative 9y. And instead of negative 6, we got positive 6. Are any of those like terms for me to combine? No. All right, the next problem, I'm actually going to get to use both of my steps, I believe. It says, to simplify this expression, and I start with 4 parentheses, x plus 3, close, minus parentheses, 2x minus 5. I'm going to use the distributive property, but I'm going to get to use it twice. The first group, 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 3 gives me 12. What am I going to distribute in the second group? A negative 1. We know there's a 1 there. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. That little spot right there is the most common source for a mistake in this lesson. If you forget to distribute the negative to all terms of the second group. Now, do I have any like terms? Yes. I have a positive 4x and a negative 2x, which combine to be 2x. Now, I heard a 6x, but look at the signs. One of them was positive and one of them was negative. So that would have told me to subtract. Now I have a positive 12 that's a constant number and a positive 5 that's a constant number, which gives me 17. And that's it. Once again, are y'all able to see this okay from the back? Okay. All right. The next problem is written in words. It might be a little difficult for you to read. I will read it to you. It says, write the following as an algebraic expression. Add 9y plus 1 to 6y minus 7. So when I translate that, it becomes 9y minus 1 gets added to 6y minus 7. Now, the parentheses that I put on that, on those, are actually optional. They are optional. Because what is sitting in front of the first group? A 1. A positive 1, which is the identity, which means when I multiply by positive 1, nothing happens. Nothing changes. What is sitting in front of the second group? A positive 1. What that really means is those parentheses can just fall off. I don't see anything happen. This is 9y minus 1 plus 6y minus 7. You never even had to write the parentheses if you didn't want to. Can you combine like terms? Yes. 9y plus 6y gives me 15y. And what's negative 1 minus 7? Negative 1, negative 7. Negative 8. Because under the addition rules, if the signs are alike, you add them and keep the sign.
Could I copy down the first half to read it?
Certainly.
The question.
Yes. There we go. I'll get better at this as we go along so that you can actually see everything you need to see at one time. Okay? And if you were writing down problem numbers, it's not visible, but that was, this is problem 11. Okay, let me scroll. This is problem number 12. And it says to subtract 2y minus 8 from 4y plus 7. Now, my X students might remember that the phrase subtract from is, what did I call it? Do you remember? It's a reversing phrase. Okay? Subtract from is a reversing phrase. And it says, write down the second expression first, 4y plus 7, and I want to subtract from it 2y minus 8. And that comes from the phrase subtract from. The last quantity gets written first, and the first quantity gets written second. Now, this time, look at those. In front of the first set of parentheses, what is there? A 1, which means 1 times 4y is 4y, and 1 times 7 is 7. So I didn't even really need those parentheses, 4y plus 7. But what is sitting in front of the second group? A negative 1. Now that makes a huge difference when I distribute it, because negative 1 times 2y is negative 2y, and negative 1 times negative 8 is positive 8. So my signs changed. So subtraction, you really have to watch out for. Can I simplify further? Yes. Combining like terms, I have 4y minus 2y is 2y. 7 plus 8 is 15. And I'm done. Okay, number 13. I'm supposed to simplify, and it says to use the distributive property to multiply and remove parentheses as my first step. All right, I've got negative 4, parentheses, 6n minus 5, close parentheses, plus 2n, and I need to simplify. Step 1, can I use the distributive property? Yes. Negative 4 times 6n is negative 24n. And negative 4 times negative 5 is plus 20 plus 2n. The second step of simplifying is to combine like terms. Is that apply? Yes, because I have a negative 24n and a positive 2n, which gives me how much? Negative 22n, and the plus 20 does not have any partners to join up with. So I'm done. Okay, I'm going to write the last problem out a little bit larger so everybody can see it, and then I'll be quiet, and I'd like you to do the simplifying, and then we'll go over it together. I want to simplify 3 parentheses 2z minus 5 minus 2 parentheses 5z plus 1. And I'll just be quiet for a minute, and we will then simplify together. Just let it run. Join together to do this problem. Simplify. Can I use the distributive property? Yes. 3 times 2z gives me 6z. 3 times negative 5 gives me negative 15. What number am I distributing to the second group? Negative 2. And a negative times a positive 5z gives me negative 10z. And a negative 2 times a positive 1 gives me negative 2. Can I do the second step of simplifying? Yes, I can combine like terms. I have a positive 6z and a negative 10z, which combine to be what? Negative 4z. And negative 15 and negative 2, they're both negative, so add them up, keep it negative. Negative 17. Did you get that one right? Okay. I hope this turned out to be a review lesson for you. So if you were a little bored, it just means you were fully prepared. Sorry about the boredom, though. All right, let's do number 15. And I'll copy it down because you can't really see it very well on the screen. I have negative 2, parentheses, 2x minus 4, close parentheses, plus 7x minus 6. And I'm supposed to simplify this expression. What will be my first step? Distributive property. Negative 2 times 2x gives me negative 4x. Negative 2 times negative 4 gives me positive 8. Plus 7x minus 6, because that part was not in any parentheses. Are there like terms for me to combine? Yes, I have negative 4x and positive 7x, which gives me 3x. I have a positive 8 and a negative 6, which is plus 2. No longer are those like terms, so I'm done. Okay, our last problem, and I'll copy it down, to simplify 6k minus parentheses 3k minus 5. To simplify this, can I use the distributive property? Yes. And what is being distributed? A negative 1. Copy down the 6k. Negative 1 times 3k gives me negative 3k. And negative 1 times negative 5, positive 5. Do I have any like terms to combine? Yes, the k's. I have a positive 6k and a negative 3k for 3k. The plus 5 constant does not have any like terms, so it's done. If you printed the notes, then you would have gotten an additional page that had the answers with it. And when you're printing, if you don't want to waste paper with the answers, then just look at it and see how many pages do I really want to print. It might be a 5-page file and you only need to print 3 of them, something like that. Anybody have any questions on simplifying? If I went all the way to the very top and went over here, I would get my rules, and the rules are use the distributive property and combine like terms. Okay, so that finishes 2.1.